Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I'm reading the section titled Transforming the Education System, Creating Respectful Learning Environments, starting on page 290 of the TRC's summary reports. The Commission believes that to be an effective force for reconciliation, curriculum about residential schools must be part of a broader history education that integrates First Nations, Inuit, and Métis voices, perspectives, and experiences, and builds common ground between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal peoples. The education system itself must be transformed into one that rejects the racism embedded in colonial systems of education and treats Aboriginal and Euro-Canadian knowledge systems with equal respect. This is consistent with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which articulates the state's responsibility with regards to public education and the promotion of respectful relationships between citizens, as follows. Indigenous peoples have the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information. Article 15.1. State shall take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with the Indigenous peoples concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination, and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among Indigenous peoples and all other segments of society. Article 15.2. Fully implementing this national education framework will take many years, but will ensure that Aboriginal children and youth see themselves and their cultures, languages, and histories respectfully reflected in the classroom. Non-Aboriginal learners will benefit as well. Taught in this way, all students, both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal, gain historical knowledge while also developing respect and empathy for each other. Both elements will be vital to supporting reconciliation in the coming years. Developing respect for and understanding of the situation of others is an important but often ignored part of the reconciliation process. Survivors' testimonies compelled those who listened to think deeply about what justice really means in the face of mass human rights violations. Teaching and learning about the residential schools are difficult for educators and students alike. They can bring up feelings of anger, grief, shame, guilt, and denial, but they can also shift understanding and alter worldviews. Education for reconciliation requires not only age-appropriate curriculum, but also ensuring that teachers have the necessary skills, supports, and resources to teach Canadian students about the residential school system in a manner that fosters constructive dialogue and mutual respect. Educating the heart, as well as the mind, helps young people to become critical thinkers who are also engaged, compassionate citizens. At the Alberta National event, a youth delegation from Feathers of Hope, a project sponsored by Ontario's Provincial Advocate for Children and Youth, offered an expression of reconciliation. Samantha Crowe said, "Feathers of Hope began as a First Nations youth forum, but it quickly became a movement of hope, healing, and positive change within Northern Ontario's First Nations communities. You spoke passionately about wanting to learn about the past, and so that First Nations and non-First Nations people alike need to understand our history and the impact it still has on everything around us. First Nations and non-First Nations people need to understand colonization, racism, that residential schools still continue to negatively impact the quality of life in our communities. Everyone, especially the young people, need to learn of Canada's history, of our past, to truly try and understand our present. This needs to be taught in school, but it also needs to be heard firsthand from our family, our friends, and our other community members. This will begin the journey of healing together, as a family or as a community, because we can no longer live with a silence that hides our pain. So while youth want to know of their past, they are ready to move forward. They understand they need positive change, but they don't want to do this alone. We all need to come together so we can share, so we can grow, and then we can uplift one another, because that's what reconciliation is about. Learning about the residential schools' history is crucial to reconciliation, but can be effective only if Canadians also learn from this history in terms of repairing broken trust, strengthening a sense of civic responsibility, and spurring remedial and constructive action. In a digital world where students have ready access to a barrage of information concerning treaties, Aboriginal rights, or historical wrongs such as residential schools, they must know how to assess the credibility of these sources for themselves. As active citizens, they must be able to engage in debates on these issues, armed with real knowledge and deepened understanding about the past. Understanding the ethical dimension of history is especially important. Students must be able to make ethical judgments about the actions of their ancestors, while recognizing that the moral sensibilities of the past might be quite different from their own in present times. They must be able to make informed decisions about responsibility. They must be able to make informed decisions about what responsibility today's society has to address historical injustices. This will ensure that tomorrow's citizens are both knowledgeable and caring about the injustices of the past, as these relate to their own futures. Thank you.